Joining me now, Bishop Garrison, Democratic strategist, and Brian Darling, Republican strategist. Hey, guys. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Okay, so expectations for the negotiations we saw. The president's tweet about 21 days going very quickly. Brian, what do you think is going to happen?
Not much. I mean, I know that they're going to have a bipartisan, bicameral conference and meeting to try and work out an agreement, but if the Democrats weren't going to give the president his wall before, why would they give it now? There's absolutely no pressure to do so. So I presume you're going to see at the end of this new continuing resolution, what's going to happen is that there will be no resolution to the issue. The wall will not be part of any new appropriations bill, and the president's going to have to look to his emergency powers, which have been delegated to him by Congress in the past. So the president does arguably have the power to start building a new wall right now, or in 20 days or 30 days or whenever, and he might invoke that if the House and Senate, as expected, do not put wall funding in the next appropriations bill.
I have more questions for you, but I do want to show this, the reaction of Democrats on Friday. It even came up on SNL last night. Check it out.
On Friday, President Trump temporarily reopened the government. And I know liberals are tweeting out, Trump caved, but y'all got to calm down. Stop gloating. You didn't win yet. The man is still one tweet away from calling a national state of emergency and bringing back slavery. Act like he's still crazy.
Look, it's obviously a joke there, but Bishop, isn't there a valid point about the dangers of Democrats gloating? I mean, does this not make the president less willing to compromise this time around?
Well, thank you for having me, Alex. First of all, let's just take a step back and say this is a good thing that a deal was reached, because we had 800,000 workers who were going without 2 paychecks in the longest shutdown in the history of our country.
Totally true, Bishop, but hang on. You said a deal was reached. What did the president get?
He got the deal that was passed back in December that he turned down. Ultimately, he didn't get anything. What we got was almost $6 billion as a country of wasted funding. And we had, as I said, 800,000 workers and their families that were without pay for over a month. I mean, ultimately, he didn't get anything. And to Brian's point about the use of a national emergency to reallocate funding, one, I think I'm incredulous. I think he's going to find many difficulties legally using that strategy. But to that point, if he wants to do that, he sets a new precedent. And he's going to see that a new Democratic administration could potentially choose to select climate change as a national security and reallocate funding, or choose to use immigration reform as a national security emergency. So it opens a brand new door for a lot of different opportunities.
You make a very good point, Bishop. And Brian, respond to that. And if I recall correctly in your answer, you said it looks like the president has the ability to do this. How strongly do you think those looks are actual reality?
Well, there are so many laws on the books right now that delegate emergency powers to the president. I believe the Brennan Center calculated we're under something approximating 30 emergencies right now. So what we would consider a real emergency under the law is very differently defined.
But isn't it about getting money appropriated for his wall? Isn't that where there definitely are a lot of hurdles for this president to take money appropriated for something, for FEMA funding or for the military, and reroute it to putting up a wall? Isn't that the biggest problem?
It's a problem, but he can do it. I think that, yes, there is a debate. There's a legal debate whether he can or cannot do it. What there's not a debate about is Congress isn't going to stop him. What's going to happen is Democrats in Congress will have to go to the courts and ask the courts to stop him, because there's no way that Congress can pass any sort of a resolution stopping the president from taking these actions. So this will all be fought out in the courts.
So the president took some pretty big hits at the polls over this shutdown. He's taking hits from his base now about how it all ended. So, Bishop, what does this signal for the next 3 weeks?
I think the running joke in D.C. right now is the president has a wall and her name is Nancy Pelosi. We had the speakers truly out here defining what leadership looks like, and ultimately the American people are seeing that, and they are disapproving of what the president is doing. And ultimately, Democrats have the wind at their sails. At the end of the day, this isn't about who wins and who loses politically. It's about protecting our foundations, protecting our establishment, and ensuring that our government is properly taken care of, and it is affording the opportunities that it needs to for the citizens.
Look, in terms of numbers, Brian, right now Nancy Pelosi's approval rating is higher than it's been in a decade. Does this at all change the dynamic?
Well, I think Democrats won the battle, but they may end up losing the war. Remember, Nancy Pelosi was saying that walls are immoral. I don't think that's a winning message for the American people. I don't think the American people want to see us tearing down walls in the southern border. I just don't think that's a winning strategy for Democrats, and I think they'll come to regret digging in so hard and taking a very extreme position on that issue.
But, Brian, if the impasse and the loggerheads are largely between the president and Nancy Pelosi, look at how she handled the shutdown solution. She refused to have the president give the State of the Union potentially this Tuesday night in the House chamber. Doesn't it look like she's controlling him now?
Well, we have a separation of powers. She won. I mean, the power of the purse under the Constitution resides in Congress, and appropriations bills have traditionally started in the House pursuant to that constitutional power. So she has immense power when it comes to the spending power of the federal government, and the president just found that out.
To the point of an emergency declaration, a national declaration there, Bishop, is this inevitable, do you think? I mean, with how badly it went the last time around, Nancy Pelosi appearing to have the upper hand and the hits in the polls, is that what's going to have to take place for the president?
Well, look, I think Speaker Pelosi is continuing to be the adult in the room. She's continuing to be the true leader that Americans need right now. And to Brian's point earlier, what he actually said was, it's a problem, but the president, he can do it. I mean, that really defines what this administration is all about. So we're going to see Speaker Pelosi do what's right by Americans and not really be as concerned politically about the polls. We're at a time that we've never truly seen in modern history with this type of president. So it's important that leadership is above party and that we do what's right to protect our interests and not simply what will get us the best check marks with the electorate. Leadership
above party. I want to flip that to a question for you, Brian, because I'm sure you've seen this New York Times article about the Trump team fearing a primary fight for 2020. Yes, the RNC is backing the president in a re-election bid. But do you see someone else coming in and trumping President Trump? Is that going to happen?
No, I don't see any Republican, John Kasich, or any, Jeff Flake, Bob Corker. If any of them were to come in, let's be honest. I mean, the one thing that happened during the shutdown fight is that President Trump angered a little bit of his base because he didn't dig in and fight. They don't believe he fought hard enough. So, but no conservative is going to challenge President Trump. He's got the highest approval ratings of Republicans in recent history. So if some moderate, more squishy Republican tries to challenge him, they will lose. They will lose badly. And I think, obviously, the bigger challenge for President Trump is in a general election.
All right. Well, look, clearly challenging the president from the other side, Bishop. I want to talk about Kamala Harris because, as you know, she is launching with a rally today, town hall tomorrow, formally entered the race, of course, this last week. But how does she fit with respect to other potential Democratic candidates?
Well, I think we're blessed right now to have some of the most incredible talent that have already taken it upon themselves to put their name out and really go through what is just a slugfest in terms of a presidential race. I've been a part of the last two cycles myself, so seeing that from a staffer, I know how hard it is for the candidates to navigate this, and my heart goes out to them and my appreciation. As for Senator Harris, I mean, she's a critical thinker. She's incredibly authentic, and she's yet another fantastic representative, a person of color that can truly help unify our country, who has proven leadership skills and a proven leadership record. So I think absolutely in terms of all the candidates, as I said, from Secretary Castro to Senator Warren, Senator Harris is just absolutely going to be a top-notch candidate. And I look forward to seeing the dialogue between all these candidates as they put forth their platforms.
Okay, Bishop Garrison, Brian Darling, guys, thanks so much. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you.
Growing human tragedy.